This is the new MAVIC Air 2, and this is its maiden voyage. Oh no, there we go. This might be a stupid first shot, literally first time flying it, and I'm gonna fly through this hole because I think it'll be cool.
Let me teach you a lesson. Listen right up. This is my house. Do you have any questions? You come swinging with that, bringing me that. I swing hard when I'm swinging it back. I turn on when I feel the attack. So come on.
And that's what you can do on one battery with a new MAVIC Air 2. Not bad. I really wanted to see what this thing was capable of, so I challenged myself to get as many cool shots as I could with just one battery. 34 minutes on one battery, by the way. It was a bit dark, and even though it was my first time ever flying the MAVIC Air 2, all it took was one battery to change my mind. Because if I'm fully honest, when I saw the specs and I saw the MAVIC Air 2 come out, I was like, doesn't seem like that big of an upgrade. And DJI's whole campaign was what's different, a whole lot. And to me, it was kind of, I don't know about that. And I was kind of waiting to be like, I'm gonna test this thing out and I'm gonna prove them wrong and I tell them it's not that different. But boy, was I wrong. And I'm okay to admit when I'm wrong. I was definitely wrong in this case. This is my first time seeing my brother in like 3 months. Don't crash.
They're too like steep.
Ah, yeah. How's the quarantine been, Mikko?
It's been fun. No, good family ties. Good family ties.
Well, now you're on paternity leave, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Until September.
Man, I'm so jealous. This has been our 6 feet away one wheel ride. We found these guys in the forest. They were saying they've never seen one wheels and they've never seen drones like this. We just come out of nowhere with all this futuristic tech. What are you guys on, bikes? No, just kidding.
Warranty for 3 months. You come out. Future has happened.
First, let's look at the build. It's actually quite a bit bigger than the previous MAVIC Air, and it looks more like the MAVIC 2, just a lot smaller. The controller is also completely different now, and it's also a lot bigger than the previous MAVIC Air. But I actually love this new controller because A, the screen now goes on top. I think that makes a lot more sense. B, you don't have to take off your phone case anymore. It was just a really big pain always having to take off your phone case. And C, it allows for the range to be a lot longer. It's actually 10 kilometers now. I don't know when you would ever fly 10 kilometers. And this is the first drone that I haven't gotten any sort of interference with the signal. Almost always there's a little bit of interference, or I lose the signal for a bit. This is the first time in all the flights so far I haven't lost signal once. Not even like the signal going all mushy for a second, none of that. And that's thanks to the OcuSync 2.0. How does it fly, you ask? Well, really well. This was surprising to me. I think it's actually, out of all the drones I own, it is my favorite drone to fly right now. It has that right balance of being really maneuverable, but not too aggressive. I find the MAVIC 2 is a little bit too aggressive sometimes. You move it just a little bit and it's just like, whoa. The Mavic Air 2 has that perfect sweet spot, which makes me really confident flying it.
All right, now it's time to test out the slow motion capabilities of the Mavic Air 2.
60 frames per second in 4K is actually really nice. The only other drone that has 4K 60 frames per second in DJI's lineup is the Phantom 4 Pro, which is like way bigger. Yeah, you guys know what it is. So I like that a lot. Plus in 1080 you get 120 frames per second and 240 frames per second, which hearing about that I was kind of like, I threw that away right away. I'm like, that's never gonna be usable. But it's surprisingly good. It's not as sharp as the 4K, that's for sure. It's not as good quality as the 4K, but I could see myself using 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second. And I think that's largely because they upped the bit rate. The bit rate of the codec is now 120 megabits. That's more data than a lot of mirrorless cameras have. Plus they added H.265, so the codec is just a lot better at the fine details, keeping the quality up, especially when you're filming like a forest or grassy areas or any of that stuff where sometimes an H.264 codec can start falling apart a little bit. So to me, the image quality is really nice. Well done, DJI, on this part. One other thing I do have to mention is that they've really software-wise made everything a lot easier and simpler to find, whether it's trying to change frame rates or different filming modes like hyperlapse or the slow motion, or even doing just the active track. It's always enabled. So if you want to track something, all you have to do is just trace it with your finger and right away you get those options to track that object. Just the whole user interface seems a lot more simple, a lot more clear, which helps a lot because if you've flown a drone before, things can get a little bit hectic, and so it just helps to have things be a little bit more clear, a little bit more simple. And for photographers, you get 48 megapixels for photos, which is really great for aerial photography.
I remember trying a hyperlapse with, I think like a Phantom 4 or something way back, and it just didn't look very good. It was really like, it was just moving around a lot. And so I haven't really done it since. So I think this is a good time to test out the hyperlapse feature. It is a bit windy, so let's see how it does.
8K hyperlapses, which are really easy to do, but the results are gonna vary depending on how much wind you have. Like for me, for example, there was a little bit more wind today, so it had a little bit more of that movement, whereas if you don't have wind, I think it's gonna be pretty nice and smooth. But also make sure you have enough battery because it does take quite a long time to get a hyperlapse, and it's actually taking photos every second or whatever you set it to. So it is gonna take a lot of battery to get a nice hyperlapse. And then we get to the section where I try to get scientific and crash the drone, not once, but twice. The APAS 3.0 or Advanced Pilot Assistance Systems, that's pretty interesting to me. The DJI is now starting to play with basically the drone being able to track you, but also being able to avoid obstacles and kind of find its way through without crashing. Foreshadowing. First off, I gotta say, the drone being able to track something is really impressive nowadays. It was able to lock onto me super well. It never once lost the track on me. And the APAS worked really well while the drone was following me while I was on the one wheel. It did have some trouble spots where it kind of didn't know where to go when it would kind of stop for a second, and then it was almost like it was thinking, and then it would do kind of a quick move and then get back into where it was supposed to be. But look how well it tracked me through this forest path. Like, there's no way I could fly it any better than it was flying itself here. And I wasn't doing anything. It was literally doing all the flying here. But then when I tried to go the reverse, so the drone was going backwards and I was kind of basically going at the drone, that's where it had a lot more trouble. And I don't know if that's just less sensors or what the issue is.
Okay, so it was flying really great. I was very impressed. And then all of a sudden, it kind of like, I think it got scared by that tree. And then it kind of like dipped into this forest here. Hit this little branch. It was doing fine for a little bit, and then it hit this little branch, and then it hit this bigger branch, and then it fell there. I don't think there's any major damage, but that's one of the big reasons I don't usually use that kind of stuff, because I mean, I was testing it pretty hard, but it did still fail there. Time to see if it still works. Hopefully it does. It still flies. We're good. Woo! And to be fair, I normally wouldn't be doing this. I'm just kind of testing for scientific purposes so you don't make the same mistakes. I want to see how does it behave. I'm normally very careful. Try to be as careful as possible with my gear. It seems to kind of struggle going backwards. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. See, this keeps happening. It kind of stops and then it keeps going around like that. It kind of finds its way after a little bit. Oh, don't crash, don't crash. No, 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 don't go in there. Don't go in there. Stop, no. Oh. Same deal again. Not a major crash or anything, but... no, just filming a YouTube video. Did you guys see my drone crash? Yep. Yeah. You won't tell anybody. Thanks. So yeah, I feel like it tracks better following people rather than going backwards. Also, people are just very, very friendly right now. I don't know if it's because of COVID or just because summer's starting, but people are really, really friendly. I think it might be a little bit of the fact that we're just missing other people. So when we do see other people, we're like, oh, humans, you exist. I guess they were right about sending me some extra propellers. They knew I was gonna do rigorous scientific testing. But actually, none of these have broken so far. DJI, I apologize for crashing this thing.
That's how I crashed it, not once, but twice. They weren't major crashes, just small little, you know, stuck on a twig and then it just like falls a little bit. Drone is still fine, it works 100%. I apologize, sorry DJI for crashing this drone. So I will say I was very much impressed by the tracking features and APAS 3.0, but do know that it's still not perfect. If you don't want to crash your drone, I probably wouldn't rely on it in tricky situations like I was putting it in, because there is still that chance that it might not see a little branch and then crash, and you don't want to crash your drone. It just doesn't feel good. So just learn from my experiences, heed my advice, and be careful with it still. And it's actually mind-blowing that you can get all of this tech, this high-quality video footage, 4K 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, 240 frames per second, the tracking, all of that stuff, long range, for $799. You really cannot find a better drone out there right now than the Mavic Air 2. Yes, the Mavic 2 Pro is still better quality in the footage, but I think the Mavic Air 2 is the best drone for 95% of people. You really cannot go wrong with this thing. Well done, DJI, well done. You were right, it's a whole lot different. First time eating sushi in 3 months. Kai, are you excited for sushi?
Yeah. Sushi's like nummy, and the rest is too.
It was a success. These guys want to be in the video.
Hey!